Hi, I'm McCord, and welcome to The Real Deal on thestir.com. This week we take on the Real Housewives of New York City, as well as an all-new, never-before-seen special, The Husbands Revealed of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Let's get started. Season 6, Real Housewives of Atlanta, a never-before-tried format. All husbands know wives. Personally, I enjoyed this husband special better than all 3 reunions and the secrets revealed of the ladies combined. First, it was nicely done. Props to the producers. The production values were great. And with the title cards before each new topic of conversation, they didn't need a host as long as one of the husbands introduced the next subject. Personally, I think a host would have actually detracted from this husband's get-together. And I sort of wish they could do that with the ladies, but that would never work. They will always need a referee. But the guys are sitting down in a bar, you know? The introduction scene was beautifully planned out. Now, that would have been engineered and maybe semi-scripted, but I loved it that they shot it in Peter's bar. I loved it that they gathered at the bar and then went to a back room. It flowed. It was the perfect combination of setup and natural discussion. I think they should do them every year, but of course that is only dependent on who sticks with the Atlanta cast. The reason this Atlanta husband special worked was because of Greg Leakes, Todd Tucker, Apollo Nida, and Peter Thomas. I don't think you can do it with any other city in the franchise currently because there aren't enough husbands that stand out. And the only other franchise that would have worked was possibly the old New Jersey cast. But now that Rich Wakil, Chris Larita, and Al Manzo are all gone, I don't think it would work. You'd only have the 2 Joes, Gorga and Giudice, facing each other off. But if Joe Giudice is behind bars by the time the upcoming season of New Jersey finishes airing, then it would be a party of 1. Anyway, let's get back to Atlanta. The meat of the hour was Apollo, followed by Peter. And it became much clearer to me that Apollo and Phaedra have issues that go way beyond his legal trouble. Phaedra didn't like the car Apollo bought her, and Phaedra did not tell Apollo that she used to date the husband of a new cast member, friend of the housewives, Monique. She used to date Chuck. Yikes! According to Apollo, he found out that Chuck was an ex of Phaedra's when the episode aired. Now, this is just wrong. I mean, there would have been 4 months where Phaedra could have told Apollo that this came up in conversation, that this was filmed, it might make the episode. And if it's the truth, it's a major failing of Phaedra's. Apollo may be right that they don't communicate. And if he goes to jail on July 8th, I shudder to think what's going to happen to their marriage. On a lighter note, Peter Thomas said what every husband on every city in every Housewives franchise has thought. If you do something foul and wicked, hubby gets to speak up. Whether it is Peter and Nene, or Slade and Vicky, or Jill and Simon. Any other man confronting any other housewife. If you're both on camera, you are both fair game. The end. Now, Greg Leakes provided the comedy. Todd Tucker provided the strong silent type. You had all 4 elements that played off each other beautifully. I loved it because all these guys dished it out, but because they were talking about the women who weren't there, it wasn't directly confrontational. It was fun. Fantastic. Since we can't put together a husband's episode for another city, let's make a dream team, shall we? You tell me in the comments which husbands of former and current cast members, which ex-husbands you'd like to put together in a room. Also this week, the Real Housewives of Orange County were off, but we do have the New York ladies with season 6, episode 11. So the New York ladies are still in the Berkshires, and then they perform a Ramona intervention. But what do you do when you're trying to trick the housewife who knows all the tricks? First, the ladies did some hungover yoga in the Berkshires, and right away, Kristen Takeman was irritating, which is what we're supposed to think. I'll get to that in a minute. But first, I don't know about you, but when I am away from my children, I like to sleep until noon, or maybe dinner. The fact that Kristen was up with the birds was irritating, and she was clearly not hungover enough. Second, I will admit that I have a yoga bias. I hate it. I loathe doing yoga. I don't like doing it inside. I don't like doing it outside. I didn't like doing it on Bravo. I didn't like doing it on VH1. I just don't like yoga. And the fact that we had to watch Kristen being chipper about it made me personally want to reach through the TV and throw something at her. Not a glass, something soft, maybe a pillow. Kristen made me miss Aviva Drescher. At least when Aviva throws a royal temper tantrum, it's funny and crazy. And you're watching with your hand over your mouth. With Kristen, it made me just want to change the channel. Now, I did feel some sympathy for Kristen during the very hard-to-watch physical therapy episode with her husband, Josh. It is so hard to fight with your spouse on camera. Ooh. I mean, in 4 years of Housewives, Simon and I never did it because we didn't feel safe enough. The environment was so toxic. So, kudos to Kristen and Josh for going there. However, I think Kristen was totally wrong to demand that Josh come home in the middle of the day to attend therapy. Here's the thing. He works. She doesn't. Therefore, she does the therapy. The end. I don't blame Josh a second for tuning out. He noticed, and you heard him say so, that the therapist was doing the same thing with their 17-month-old daughter that he does naturally in the morning. Okay, so he didn't need to be there. He started working. Not only do I not blame him for that, I would have done the same thing. Kristen was haranguing Josh, which was a setup for her later haranguing Ramona. Did you catch that in the editing? Nice job, editors. Put the two together. Makes us all hate Kristen. Well, whether it is her husband or her castmate, Kristen cannot let things go. She demands an answer or an apology of whomever she's talking to. She gets one. Fine, that should be the end of it. But she can't let it go. She keeps talking, beating a dead horse. Ramona showed up with flowers and an apology and kisses, and Kristen took it, but then she kept talking. This was interesting to me from a behind-the-scenes strategy perspective. Okay, so Ramona's strategy is she wants this scene to be over quickly, so she apologizes straight out of the gate, over the top. Now, Kristen was probably already visualizing how this will play out on TV. She's imagining that she owns the whole episode, and she's the dramatic, put-upon, martyred heroine. So, of course, when Ramona apologizes straight out of the gate, she steals her thunder. And Kristen wanted time to list out every single one of Ramona's faults, so she did it anyway. And the problem is, when you do that after your opponent apologizes, you look stupid. I think Kristen needs to drink a bottle of wine, read Countess Luann's etiquette book, and sleep late. And then maybe cook dinner for her husband? Speaking of strategy, I loved watching Ramona try every trick in her arsenal at the intervention dinner. First, she pretended she didn't know what the ladies were talking about. Next, she brought up her childhood. Then she tried to leave the table, but linebacker Luann didn't let her go. Next, she told the table that they were attacking her, and she got upset. And finally, when none of that worked, she apologized and joked that she needed therapy. Now, you know I'm not objective at all about Ramona, but I did love watching her process. It's like someone with a toolbox trying the wrench, then the hammer, then the saw. None of it works, so I give up. So are you excited to see Aviva return next week? Here's what I'm thinking about New York right now. I think they're all trying too hard. I don't know if it's because of those 7-week contracts or because they're worried about it being a good show. It was almost 2 years before it came on again. I don't know what the reason is, but it seems like they are all desperately trying to be bigger and louder and funnier. And that's when you can tell that some people are better actors than others. Tell me what you think in the comments. But next, we've got viewer questions. Nate Fame on Twitter asked, in public scenes, how do producers keep fans from approaching reality stars and asking to take pictures and sign autographs? Well, Nate, that is why you see more and more scenes shot in private homes or in private rooms within restaurants. Sometimes the crew will form a ring around the cast and the cameras, and other times you'll have a room completely cleared and the other people sitting at the tables are actually crew members acting as extras. And speaking of extras, Andrea W. asked me, what about the people dancing in the background on the Husbands Revealed special? Well, Andrea, those dancers were probably extras that were dancing to no music. That room would have had to have been silent with all the local atmosphere noise added in afterwards so as not to compete with the husband's audio. Given that that special probably took several hours to film, I think the extras deserve stamina awards for standing up and dancing to silence. Well, let me know what you thought in the comments, and who are your picks for an all-star Husbands Revealed Dream Team? For now, I am Alex McCord. You're watching The Real Deal on thestir.com. See you next time.